and welcome to the Sunny 16 podcast for a festive special because it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Actually, it's not looking much like Christmas, but I've checked the calendar. It's very nearly Christmas. And so we've got a fabulous, this is the closest we're going to get to an office Christmas party this year. And here at our lovely office Christmas party is the fabulous Rachel. Rachel, how are you?
Hello. Yes, I'm here. I'm actually quite warm. Usually very, very cold in the house, but because we're wearing our festive hats, mine is a sort of like hat scarf combo type bear thing. So it's keeping me very toasty warm, which is lovely. So yeah, it's all good. It's quite wet outside rather than snowing, but yeah, apart from that, all good.
I love the fact that in this post-apocalyptic world in which we live in, you are actually already at the point where you're hunting bears and skinning them. I mean, shall
I put the actual hood up so that we can see it in all its glory? There we go.
It looks fabulous. I think I need one of those.
Pretty good.
Joining us with less bear but more tinsel, the fabulous John Whitmore. John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the fact that you look like a festive Jesus.
Oh yeah, I've got some really itchy tinsel on my head, and I'm just
and a ball of light.
Nice.
Yeah, you were balancing a ball of lights on your head earlier. Carefully placed, not even unravelled, just put the whole ball plugged in. If John electrocutes himself this evening, we accept no responsibility. Taking the far more sensible sartorial tinsel option is the wonderful Clare. Clare, how are you?
Good evening. I'm all right. I'm much better than I was last week, thank you. Yeah.
Very pleased.
I'm afraid I haven't got such a great Christmas hat as you, Graeme, but I've got just some simple tinsel to tie up my hair.
I love the fact that we can see your Christmas tree in the back now.
Oh yes.
And it's the fresh new one, not the dead one, skeleton one that we were talking about last time, Claire.
Yeah. And based on what you said to us before, Claire, I look forward to seeing that Christmas tree in the background of your screen until about May.
Yeah, or June, August maybe.
So obviously we're here to discuss the year that's been, but perhaps more positive. We want to talk about what's coming in the future. And who better to talk to about stuff in the future? Welcome back for Christmas, it's Aid!
Aid is here. Hello. Special guest Aid.
Superstar guest Aid. Looking very dapper, my dude.
Thank you. Do you like the ears? Yeah.
Great.
And the ones on my hat. It is an honour and a privilege to be here, of course. And it's very, very good to see you all.
It's great to see you. It's really noticeable as I look at this because as we've been doing the last few weeks, we're doing this using Google Meets. We can see each other on video, which is wonderful. And you can tell the difference between the riffraff and the person who has been doing video stuff every week, every day for the last whatever. Aid looks very well lit and very professional, whereas fuzzies on, badly lit fuzzies on me.
Well, thank you for noticing. Yes, sadly, my professional life mostly includes doing about 5 or 6 hours of video calls every day at the moment, and so I have played around a little bit with the setup,
So you were excited to be here for this video call just before Christmas as well.
Yeah, I've had a few days off work. I'm all right, Rach, actually. Thank you. But
okay.
Anyway, this is fun, isn't it? Like the ones where I have to argue with other people are less fun. But yeah, this that's going to be a bit like this as well, isn't it? Yeah. Graeme,
I was going to say, do you remember what Graeme's like?
I do. That sort of thing sticks with you, through life.
We're going to do a surprise cheap shots challenge judging tonight just to get the arguments going.
I've got Christmas in a couple of days.
Our listeners may not know because obviously whilst you've not been doing the Sunny 16 podcast, you have still been doing podcasts on the regular with the future of photography, and you've been doing video podcasts. You've been living this future dream of video podcasts. How's that been? Because we've done it once and found it scary.
It's all right actually. You get used to it after a while. So I mean, the one of the things about future photography is the shows are roughly about 30-40 minutes. So I can just about hold it together for that long. So if anybody's watching the video of this, look out for how I start behaving about 45 minutes in, because I might lose the plot a bit.
That's the hard part, isn't it? It's managing to continue looking interested in something somebody else is saying for all that time. Because normally, when we're just on audio, I'm staring off into space. I'm playing with whatever's on my desk. I'm not really
saying.
What? I didn't know any of this. This is a whole revelation to me. Are you kidding me?
Listening attentively to your every word is what I'm actually doing. Well, because we haven't had a chance to catch up with you since, when was it? I think end of July when we last spoke.
Was it that long ago? Sorry, that's my bad. I shouldn't be away for that.
Yeah, no, we know it's your bad. Don't worry. None of us were feeling like it was our fault. We're all well aware whose fault it is. What have you been up to? Have you been out and been able to engage with photography at all this year, given how busy you've been?
That's a good question. Yes and no is the sort of answer. So often I like to be out and about to take photographs. I haven't had so much opportunity to do that, as you might expect. But I have really tried. So I know last I was here, we were, no doubt, I was being castigated for selling off all my film cameras or some such nonsense. But that
happened after you left the show.
Did it?
It did.
Oh, yeah, no, yes, but since not since July, because that was earlier this year, I think most of it. The camera that travelled the furthest. Big shout out to Brian Casey. If you're listening, Brian, I'm glad the camera got there in the end, mate. So this was an instant Lomo instant camera that I sent to Ireland, and it took about 4 or 5 months to get there.
Whoa. Doesn't bode well for the Christmas deliveries, does it?
The one I sent to Bill in Australia got there in about 2 weeks. Right? The one to go to Ireland took 4 months.
Wow.
I mean, all joking aside about doing 5-6 hours of video conferencing, which isn't a joke, it's true. So I have a camera, of course, that gets used constantly. I've been making photographs. Look, I've brought some of my prints. I've been printing a lot. Listen to this.
Oh, that's good. That's a good stack, isn't it?
That's what I've been doing since I last spoke to you all.
Can we see them?
Yeah,
I
what kinds of?
I was going to say, is it in stacks or is it?
No, these are 6x4s. They are printed on my Canon selfie printer, which is the Dyson printer.
Okay. I love that.
And it's awesome. So yeah, absolutely, you can see. So I won't show you them all because it's quite. But yeah, I've just been trying to print stuff and having fun, and I got a new phone since I last spoke to you. So I now have, for the first time in 5 years, I got a new phone. So the camera in that is way more impressive than what I had. So I've been playing with that. So some of it's like technical stuff, like playing with night mode stuff. I can't find any night mode photographs now. That's it. Oh, there we go. Here's one. Look, here's one I took the other day at a Christmas light show.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
On your phone, is it?
And it's a reflection.
My phone in night mode. Yes, absolutely. So it's beautiful. The reflection was a pool that it's in. So the trees are all lit up because it's a garden I go to. It's a place called the Royal Horticultural Society Garden at Wisley, and they do a big Christmas light show every year. So there's that one. I've been playing. What phone
did you get? Sorry, this seems like a question people will be yelling at the.
Sorry, what phone did I get? I got the biggest phone in the world because I went back to like 1989. It's the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Has it got like an aerial that you pull up?
It doesn't. I should get one of those, shouldn't I? Look. So I don't know if you can see how big that is compared to my face. It's like it's quite enormous.
Whilst Aid may have an elf on, his face is pretty huge. He's
true. It's true. It's got here's an interesting one, right? It's got a LiDAR scanner in it, and I was doing 3D scans, and you can then send 3D models to people. That, believe it or not, is a picture of our living room, and although it looks all bitty and horrible, it doesn't look anywhere near that tidy usually. And then
I really like that effect though. That's very cool. It looks a bit like an instant photographic collage, actually, that you've sort of done like some emotion lifts and things.
It does, and it has a sort of spooky 3D quality to it as well. But I mean, these things are amazing, right? I tell you what, I know it's not really the core topic for this show, but these things are amazing. There's one I took of Ellie, right? So that's for those that can't see it. This is a black and white picture. It's a full length body shot on a white background, except it isn't. It was just shot in the living room, and it was that's straight out of camera. There's a mode on the phone that cuts you out and lights you and puts you in black and white with a high key background. That's like one click. And I'm just playing and having fun. I'm having loads of fun, right? Loads of fun. And that's why I've got all these photographs which I brought to talk about and show you all and muck about with and stuff.
That's awesome. Dare I ask, when all was sent to Australia and to Ireland and all the other places things wanged their way off to, what, if anything, survived the great analog camera slaughter of 2020?
Well, I wasn't going to give up the Polaroid you gave me. I still got that.
That's good.
It's because it's got the googly eyes on it, isn't it? That was the reason why.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have a couple of Holgers.
Oh, you do? I'm surprised. I'm surprised you've still got your Holgers, actually.
I think that might be it. I think I may only have 3 film cameras now. But that.
What about your Instax Mini?
No, that went.
Did that go? Okay.
Yeah. Everything except the Polaroid and the 2 Holgers, I think. But I couldn't find my pinhole camera, so I don't know if I still have that or not. I can't find it. It's a bit new.
Do one of us have it?
I know.
No, it's not.
You got it, Graeme.
No,
if you do, welcome to keep it.
I don't think I haven't got it.
It's is that right? And I got rid of quite a few digital cameras as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I now have one good digital camera, and I have my Olympus Tough waterproof camera, which I still love. Is awesome. And if I was ever to get rid of that, or I would probably just be getting rid of it to buy the next generation of it, or 3 generations along, or whatever it is now. But yeah, I sold all the digital cameras as well. It was quite good. I enjoyed it.
Did it do the thing that you were hoping it would do, which is kind of, did you feel like it lifted that weight off your shoulders that were sitting there?
Yeah, totally. It has worked, and that's why I'm here showing you photographs. So I swapped out my my main digital camera, which was a Fuji X-T1. I swapped that out for the X-T3 because I wanted to use it for video, and the X-T1 didn't have a clean HDMI out. So I wanted to, so I went for the next one up the line because I already had the new lenses. It was a second-hand one because it's an older generation model, so it didn't cost me too much, and that's great. And that's what I'm using now for the for this call. That camera, it works a treat, gets used all the time. Very rarely does it come off the tripod on my desk, and almost everything I'm shooting is with my phone, which is and it's just that, and it's just whatever I want to shoot, whenever I want to shoot it, and play around and muck about with stuff, and all the friction is gone, and it's really nice. It's really nice to be back, to be making photographs and not worrying about stuff.
Yeah.
I seem to recall I got a lot of it. I seem to recall I got a lot of abuse for recommending that you sold all your equipment on that episode. And people slagged me off, but it worked, didn't it? Yes,
and thank you for your support. Absolutely. It did work. It was what I needed to do, and it's not. It's not that I don't like film photography. It's just that there was something I had to change. I had to break the cycle. So that's done, and I'm making lots and lots of photos and enjoying myself now.
Excellent. Yeah, that's the most important thing. Sorry, Rach, you can say something.
I was just going to ask Ada what kind of things, because you were just saying, Ada, that you were shooting whatever you wanted to that felt right and stuff. I just wondered what kind of content it was, what sort of subject matter that you found that you've ended up being drawn to.
That's a very interesting question. Thank you. So it's different from when I was, deliberately going out with a film camera to shoot stuff. Then I would typically be shooting portraits, candid portraits mostly. It's a bit more freeform now. So I mean, some of my favorite stuff and prints on the walls in the house and things back from the early days of proper smartphones, in 2008, 2009, 2010, that sort of thing. A lot of that was just very much whatever, a little patch of light that caught my eye, or a detail here, or very little of it was I'm going to go out and take a landscape today, or anything like that. So it's back to that sort of thing. It's a much broader range of stuff.
Much more instantaneous by the sounds of things. It's like you see it and you capture it, rather than it being a planned, like, I'm specifically looking for this.
Yeah, so I mean, part of that is circumstances beyond all our control, because it's difficult to make plans, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's definitely a freedom in it. It's it is, and it is something as simple as light, right? Light has always been my thing. right?
Yeah.
And a patch of light will catch my eye, and I'll take a photo of it, and I'll maybe take 2 or 3 photos of it to try and capture what I think I'm seeing, and then move on and be done with it. And then at the end of the day, they're all just there, and I can play around with them on my phone or whatever. And it's all good.
That's an interesting point, actually. Did you sell a lot of your lighting equipment too, or did you keep all of that?
That's a good question. Did I sell? I didn't sell any. They've all been moved around though. So rather than just being in the corner of my study where I grab them in a moment, a lot of the light stands and things like and backdrops and stuff like that are now all in the loft.
Right.
Because they just weren't getting used. I've kept a couple out though. Just they do a bit more regularly get used. I'm actually Christmas shopping for myself for more lights because the lights, you can never have enough lights. And of course, now we live in a world where there's video conferencing all the time, right? So both me and Emma, my wife, we work from home. We're both on video calls a lot. So half the lights I thought were mine are now in her study. Right?
Been reappropriated.
Right, so every time I go to take a photo and think, right, I know the light I need, it's always part of some semi-permanent setup somewhere in the house now. So
that's the thing that you find, though, isn't it? Like because like this year, obviously, I've been doing more like video workshops and things like that, and trying to set stuff up Patreon, and you end up with kind of like this setup that you then kind of can't move really, because you're like, okay, well, I've got to do the next video, and then the next thing's got to come. And so there's never a point where you are able to kind of claim that space back. You just kind of end up with that in your house becoming part of the general furniture.
So I'm quite fortunate in that, because what I'm doing is basically video calls rather than professional work like you do. I'm in one spot, so I have my desk. It's set up with the lights, with the camera, with the microphone, with the speakers. Right. That sort of thing. And
it's not in the middle of your living room.
No.
Separate space. Yeah.
No. And we have shifted the house around through the year because we use the house. Family of 4, right? And the house isn't massive. We're not squished either. Not complaining, but we've shifted it around because we're all here so much more often, and we do different stuff in the house now. So my study is what was a spare room. And we don't have a spare room anymore because nobody's allowed to come visit. So.
Don't need that.
Don't need that anymore. So it's my study now. So my semi-permanent video setup is all based around my desk. So, but it's just that where all the lights I thought I had that could be picked up at a moment's notice are all deployed now. That's a good word, isn't it? They're deployed. Yeah. They're fee-earning. They are genuinely fee-earning lights now. Admittedly, not in a creative sense, in a corporate sense, but they are fee-earning lights.
So, what's been the best lights? Like, because honestly, I mean, I could have done with you around here last week to help me with my lighting situation. It was a bit of a disaster, but putting that aside for the time being, what have been the best lights you've picked up lately? What's the hot spot on the lights?
The one I got my eye on, very good. The one I've got on my eye on is Aperture were just about releasing smaller, cheaper versions of some of their really good LED, what they call cob lights. Chip. I think it stands for chip on board, but it's the really bright LED ones. That they just look like they've got a single huge yellow LED on them. There's a couple of those coming out now that are really very, very affordable, much cheaper than they would have been in the past. I mean, they're still a couple £100 a piece, but so I'm not going to buy loads of them. Maybe one as a treat to myself. Those are looking good, and just really, it's anything that will fit in the space, right? That does the job, right? So I'm using Yongnuo Light One type things, cylindrical jobbies on my desk. I've got 2 of those. One to provide ambient, one to just provide a little fill on my face. It's anything that fits the bill, really. It's been great fun shopping. I mean, I'm just buying stuff to bolt onto the desk and things like that. It's good.
That sounds good. Is it with your stuff with lights at the moment? Is it almost entirely LED based stuff? Are you doing much flash stuff these days?
No, not doing any flash stuff at all. It's all LED because it's all video. So
continuous source light instead of
light, and of course, given I'm shooting a lot with a phone, I mean, I don't do big lighting setups very often for the phone, but of course the phone doesn't work with flash. So
is there any way of triggering a flash from a phone? Are there adapters or anything like that?
Pro Photo will tell you there is, and they'll charge you £1,000 for the privilege.
Right.
I wouldn't bother.
Serious question about your life choices when you're paying that kind of money to shoot studio lights with a phone.
I don't think it'd be long
Get an
away.
assistant. You could pay for an assistant.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be long away before they figure out how to do this stuff. But no, it's the phones are just not built that way. You know, they don't have the circuitry. You know, but it's it's just fun. Yeah, so definitely if in the January sales, if such things still exist, if they have things haven't been on sale since Black Friday and all the way through, then maybe I'll buy a light as a Christmas present to myself. You know,
you can never have too many lights, is what I've learned from you. You can never have
especially in the middle of winter when it's just perpetually dark.
Do you know, Aid?
Get some Christmas lights.
There. I thought of you the other day when Graeme, I don't know if you told everybody that you managed to come off your bike, remove yourself from your bike.
Oh, no.
I chose to part company with it whilst it was moving.
Yes, whilst in motion. But for people who can't see, he is still here smiling and wearing an elf hat. So we know that he's all right. But I thought of Aid the other day because you were talking about getting a bag for your bike for putting camera stuff into. And I was like, oh, it's the bag show that you never got to make, Aid.
Bag show.
I know, right? So exciting. So just maybe that.
Well, you know, just love to, but you know, I haven't had the bag yet for Christmas, so can't. I mean, next time we'll definitely do the bag show. Speaking of, actually, what's on the subject of lighting? I want to turn to John now, because John, when we last spoke, you just done your photo shoot where you were using projected light and the projected image to try and capture stuff. How did that all work out in the end?
I was, as I expected, there were a lot of duff shots because I was doing selfies or self-portraiture on a film camera. So I was like hoping it was going to be in focus when I was running around to the front and getting in the frame. So there were a lot where I was out of focus. There was a lot where I was like too low, I'd crouch too low down, or like I was stood up too much. But I was I had a couple of frames that I was really pleased with, and I guess that's the gamble, isn't it? When you're doing things like that, you're not going to hit every shot. So yeah, I was really pleased, and I overexposed a couple of them as well because I hadn't quite metered correctly. But it was okay. Two of them are definitely usable.
Well, your final two images, I've seen them. They look great, John. Really, really like them. Very atmospheric. Are they how you originally envisaged it?
With that setup, yes. Originally, cool. I think I talked about this previously. I was hoping to do full length shots, but the reality of doing like a rear projection on a sheet, you need an enormous amount of space.
You're pretty tall as well, to be fair. If it was me, it'd be kind of okay.
I had no idea how far away the projector needed to be from the sheet to get a big image on it. So I didn't really plan that part of it. I had to then suddenly go for more of a cropped shot. But yeah, like the way those turned out in that setup, yeah, it was pretty close to what I thought was going to happen. I would have liked to spend more time and have more lights, you know. But when you're working by yourself, trying to do the lighting as well is really difficult. Yeah, trying to work out where the light's falling on you, and then you've got the added random factor of running into a spot, and any small movement means the light's falling on you slightly differently. If you're a little bit closer to the light, the exposure goes on it. You know, it's
really hard to do to run and move like that. Especially you go like, aiming for like a delicate Rembrandt, and
they weren't delicate. Delicate was not the word what I was doing. But no, it's good. It's great fun as well. That's the important bit for me.
Given like the fact that you did have success with it, even though it wasn't as much as you want to because of the fact that you were the model and so doomed from the start. I mean, not
people in glass houses.
I did do some silhouetted and then loads better.
But like the technique, the idea of using the rib, has how successfully that idea at least worked out? Has that got the neurons firing for stuff you're going to do in future? Can you see this being something you come back to again?
I'd love to work with a model on something like that, so I could spend more time and do more variations. Of backdrops as well. So that's something else I didn't plan. I had two images that are projected over one roll, and I wish I'd varied those images more as well, just to get different looks to it. So I'd love to spend more time with an actual model doing that, or some.
And then you can direct, can't you? And really kind of
yeah.
You're just not worrying about the same things. You can.
Yeah, it's a really fun technique to kind of put somebody in a different environment really easily. And it looks fake. There's no. It's like when you see in a film, and they used to do like people sat in a car, didn't they? And they'd have like a projector of the movement behind them, and it just looks really obvious. But I think that's like I'd have to. You've got to iron the sheet as well. That's something I didn't do, and you can see a big crease in the back.
Have you seen, John? Have you seen any of the stuff that's come out in the last year or so about how they shot the Mandalorian?
Yeah, that's phenomenal, isn't it? They had a lot of ironing on the crew as well. So for those who don't know, they're all there like firing the steamer on the iron, just going around. So I don't watch a lot of Star Wars stuff, I have to admit, but there's the show The Mandalorian, which is set somewhere in the Star Wars universe and has been on Netflix, I think, most of this year. Oh no, it's Disney, wasn't it? It's on Disney.
Oh, Disney, of course, because Disney owns Star Wars now, doesn't it? Yeah, I forgot that. So a lot of it is shot, and instead of being shot on green screen, they've got these LED
it's incredible, isn't it?
ceilings and stuff like that, and they're actually it's not projecting because it's LED. So what would it be?
It's a screen.
It's a big screen. And so instead of walking down a corridor that's made just of green sheeting, you're actually walking down a corridor that's got walls and it's all displayed there. And that's actually how they capture it. The cameras that they use, they're doing 3D modeling, so that whichever camera that they're on, the background shifts to be the right projection for in this case a geometric projection, not a light projector for that angle of view, and everything comes around. And so it's just some phenomenal stuff there. I'm imagining, John, that was a lot like your shoot.
It was identical.
In fact, they took the inspiration from you, didn't they, John?
Of course.
I've been contracted to Disney all year. It's been a great year for it.
Also, Mandalorian mostly wears his pajamas, doesn't he, John? So another thing you've got in common.
Yes, and a mask when he goes out in public as well. That's something else.
I think isn't there a thing that he never takes the mask off or something like that? In character,
Otherwise,
no spoilers here. No spoilers.
I genuinely haven't seen any of the shows. I've just seen the things that hit the interwebs about how they produce it. So,
it's like one benefit of that is, I guess, related. Bringing it back to photography, that you could do is they get environmental lighting as well, because it's surrounded by LEDs. Like in a green screen scenario, you'd have to set up fake lighting, wouldn't you, to simulate the environment somebody's in. But with that LED, they're actually getting all the different colors and the strength of lighting from all the directions as well. And that it adds so much when you get like reflections in eyes and on shiny surfaces and stuff like that. It's really impressive.
Well, they're making these things at resolutions you can see that stuff now. I mean, they're shooting all of this stuff. A lot of it is being shot in 8K now, isn't it? And being reduced down to 4K. So there's a hell of a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
It's spooky. Anyway, sorry.
Business. No apologies. It's all fascinating stuff. This is why you're here, Aid. You're here because we're a bunch of country bumpkins who don't know about any of this future stuff, and then we need you here to let us know what's going on. Well, John, you know more about this stuff than we do. But I think Rachel, Claire, and myself are like, what? Oh, they use lights. Well, that's fun. I think we're very much still in the page of like the car with the projection in the background. That's where we're at with cinematography. That's how far we would.
I do love that look.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant look, isn't it? No matter how
it works. The Dukes of Hazzard.
The thing is, like when I first saw the photos that John came up with, I was like, this is literally what I did for my A-level photography.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, which was hilarious because rather than it being me that I projected it on, I found some random other person was like, okay, you're going to stand in this room and I'm going to take photos of you. I'm also going to you're going to have to take your top off and I'm going to have to project stuff on you.
Oh man!
So you did front projection then? So
yes, I did some front projection. I did try some rear projection as well, but I ended up the images I liked the most were actually like front projection, and it was using some images from Klimt, the artist, because it was sort of like part of the inspiration behind. I can't actually remember what the project was, but yeah, I had loads of fun. It was great experimenting with that, and also because I think it was like the textures that you get from projection as well, where it's kind of like it's a 2D projection of light, but it can look like it gives you an interesting 3D texture to the skin as well, which is very cool. So that's something to try.
Have you ever seen those things they do on buildings where they project, but they have like a 3D map of the shape it's projecting onto? Yeah. Like you could combine that, couldn't you, with photography as well? And like if you had a 3D model of your face, you could then actually change the projection so it fitted over your face, potentially. Could you do that in real time as well?
Because I mean, that was
really still.
Yeah. That was sort of like interesting thing, like with something like Klimt, because it was an image of a person, so I'd blown it up so it was the size of the person I was then projecting it onto, so it kind of like half of their face looked like the face from the picture, almost a bit like that kind of mapping, very very basically in like 1998 or whatever it was. But yeah, it's
timeless
really cool,
techniques. That's what they're
well it's reimagining it, isn't it, for the
Claire, I'm intrigued. Have you ever gone to such elaborate lengths to get a bloke's top off?
No, but I have.
How do you know it was a bloke?
Sorry, was it not a bloke?
I thought you said it was a bloke.
No, I have done some front projection. I did some. Was it last year? Yeah, last year for one of the months of the 12/12 project. I did a shot, and I called it Galactic Tunnel. So I kind of projected some sort of outer space sphere onto myself. Yeah. So
is it like the conjunction from yesterday?
Sorry,
Saturn and Jupiter.
Like it was like it came out quite orange. I wish I could show it to you. It's on one of my social media pages. Yeah, I did that. But it's funny because I was only thinking, not necessarily for photography, although I like thinking about changing your scenes, but I was thinking as well for filmmaking, for moving image, thinking about kind of rear projection and how that technique, because it can be done really well. There's that. What's the Hitchcock film? And it's got the famous scene. What's the film?
Psycho.
Psycho.
Not Psycho. And it's got
the Hitchcock film with the famous scene. Come on, guys.
No, but there's rear projection in that where she's in the car.
And then there's the
North by Northwest.
North by Northwest.
Plane comes.
Film buff.
Like that. And that looks really well done, but that's kind of rear projection.
Yeah.
So when I was researching,
so if you look at it, he's on a studio and on a gravel. He's on the studio on a piece of gravel, and that's kind of on a screen behind. Sorry, John.
When I was researching doing the projection thing, I was reading about Kubrick and how he used 8 by 10 ectochromes for projecting. I think that might have been 2001.
2001, yeah.
I think he did that before. Can you imagine that? Like having a projector that can take an 8 by 10 neg and projecting that. It must have been phenomenal.
That was a big movie that they made. There was a lot of new stuff that had never been done before in that movie. It's a lot of the all of the animation of the spaceships and stuff like that. It was they were really pushing the boundaries. I remember reading once years and years and years ago. A lot of the reason it's all so floaty and dancey and delicate is that they didn't have the animation technology to move things quickly.
So they weren't in the frames. Is that what was the problem?
Well, so I mean, just all the bits. I forget what the music they play. Is it the Blue Danube that they play through? That I can't remember. But where all the spaceships are docking and stuff like that. It's all very slow and graceful, and it was all an artistic decision driven by a technical constraint.
That's like everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Right, yeah, good point.
A lot of successful things in life, yeah.
That's such a lovely one.
Yeah. We didn't get to speak to you last week, Claire, although you did manage to get some audio recorded. How did your 1 hour challenge go for you? I know you did some brilliant audio. Have you had a chance to see the results from it yet?
No, I haven't seen the results yet, so I'm sure I'll have them soon. Yeah, so I was unwell, so I couldn't make the actual evening. So yeah, when I did it, what I decided to do, decided to do it outside. So I decided to do like a voyeuristic kind of view around my village at night. So I did a recce and a bit. I wanted to capture. Do you know if you're looking outside, looking into people's like lounges, and they've got the lights on the lounge light?
I don't actually.
This is how
I do, Claire. I do.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
That's what I'm doing after this program. Is
this is how I spend my time going on the prowl around at night.
You know we're recording this, right?
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah. No, so so when it looks like quite cozy and maybe there's just like an orange light coming out from maybe someone's blinds or windows, and I wanted to capture that kind of cozy voyeuristic look in. So I kind of went around my village, did a recce, and thought, oh, that house is nice, and that one, and fingers crossed,
casing the place.
Yeah, I was
don't have a dog.
And I was like, keep fingers crossed. They will have their lights, so they'll be in and have their lights on when I come round. And they were. That was great. And also in the village I live, there's 2 petrol stations. And I quite like. I know you've seen a lot of photos, but I really like the aesthetic of the petrol station at night when it's lit up and it's all alone, kind of thing. So I selected which one, and I enjoyed taking that, shooting that. But I had to wait a few times because even though it was closed, a couple of people came and walked across the forecourt, so I had to kind of wait for them to disappear. But as usual, the hour went really quick. But I don't know how it's going to transpire though, because I'd initially was taking my tripod with me. I had Cine Still 800. I was taking my tripod with me. And I even deliberated about a light, bringing a light with me, but I didn't bother with a light. And then on the actual night, it was so cold and it was drizzly. It wasn't nice weather. So I decided I don't know whether this is a good decision, but I didn't even bother with a tripod. So I decided to I handheld everything. So I don't know now whether that was.
Do you know how long the exposures were?
Good decision. No, we'll have to wait and see.
How long was the exposure? I think John was asking. How long the
sorry.
That's all right.
They weren't long, No, they're quite quick. Otherwise, I would. They're going to just be
10
blurred,
seconds.
Yeah. Quick.
Not long at all.
No.
What camera were you using, Claire? I can't remember now. I know you did talk. What camera did you use? I can't remember now.
I've just used my standard. It's quite a cheap one, like a Canon 300. It's just a Canon 300. So we'll see. But it was freezing. It was It was just so cold, and because it was raining, basically, I decided.
So your hands were really shaking as well.
Yeah.
It was so cold.
Yeah. No, I kind of did do that thing, when you breathe in and then don't.
Like a sniper.
Yeah. Like a sniper. So
That's like when I'm making pinhole viewers. I'm like, okay, you just have to hold your breath.
Yeah, I do that.
So you're not shaking everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm glad you explained that, because when you're making a pinhole viewer, you make it sound like a pinhole viewer is some sort of unexploded bomb you're putting together. I don't put this bit of
I like to be
in,
precise. What can I say?
So we'll see. I could go back round and do it again on a tripod.
Where's the fun in that?
On another night where it's we've had awful weather actually. So
a sunny day in the middle of August.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, Claire, you did for once. My planning did kind of save me from that, because when I was sitting and thinking about what I could do, I did look at the possibility of inside versus outside, and just went, you can't trust the weather at 8 o'clock in December. You cannot trust the weather. And actually, it was fairly dry and not freezing here. But yeah, you were unlucky with that. But I bet you got some nice images, though. They'll have atmosphere. So sharpness is a bourgeois concept.
Exactly.
Rach,
how are your images, Graeme?
Yes.
You've seen my images. So I made some fairly fundamental mistakes. I tried using lights. That was number one. That was my first mistake. Practically the first,
Why was it a mistake?
Because I'm not good at using lights, Claire. And I was in a rush, and I was using one. I tried, Aid. Please note that I did try. I had to set up.
You did so many preps as well, like for it, didn't you?
Did.
Yeah,
I did my
really
best, and it turns out my best sucks. But that's by the by. But I had a light behind to try and, I don't know why, it seemed like a good idea. And I had a fairly rubbish LED light on one side to give some fill, and a flash on the other side. And I was using my digital camera to meter. So all fine. So the first big mistake that I made was I was taking the picture with the digital camera, looking at it and going, okay, that looks all right. But what I was doing was I was looking at the picture on the back of the screen. Makes perfect sense. What I wasn't doing was looking at the histogram. And then the screen on the back of the camera is just pretty bright. So when I brought the digital pictures in, because I took quite a few pictures digitally, obviously, as tests and also to make sure I had some, when I brought those into Lightroom, I was like, oh, these are all underexposed by a 1.5. And this is what I based all of my meter readings off. So that means that all of my film shots are also underexposed by a 1.5. So that was mistake number one.
What film are you using? That should be recoverable mostly.
It was on FP4, weren't you?
I was using FP4. Now, I had rated it at ISO 200 because that was easy for me to work with the camera, because I think that's the lowest ISO I could rate for with the Fuji. So, okay, ISO 200. But then I had a conversation with John about, well, okay, I underexposed all of these by a 1.5. Should I develop the film at ISO 400 instead? And John's advice was, well, it's going to get contrasty, and from looking at the digital pictures, you're already starting to blow out some of the whites because you're a cat-handed fool with lights, which is true. And you can really push him.
Those words.
He used worse words. He was really cutting.
Yeah.
I spent quite some time in tears.
Just how on earth do you blow out all the whites when you're a 1.5 underexposed?
Well, once I started pushing
those lights,
Nade's got very pale legs, and the flash.
It was the legs. It was mainly the legs.
Not my fault. It's Nade's ghostly legs that's the problem. Anyway, in the end, we kind of compromised, and we went. I think I did it 250. Was it, John? I think I
can't remember.
I think I did ISO 250, and the negs were thinner than I would have liked. So when I scanned them in, I had to kind of push them a bit in the scanning phase to try and get them close to where I needed to, so that they weren't completely blacked out, and then do what I could in Lightroom to balance out. So that was poor planning, which left me with not great stuff there. But that wasn't the only issue. Like I said, my use of the lights was fairly ham-fisted, and I wasn't thinking. So I was getting Sinead to move around, and I wasn't adjusting the light. So sometimes she'd be sat up like this, then maybe she'd be leaning forward, and I wasn't thinking to move the lights with that. And I just wasn't paying enough attention. And there was. I mean, I got results. I've got pictures. They're just not very good. And that's not true, by the way. I've seen some of them. Like you've
that
seen
one that one that I said I thought looked great to me. Looked like it was spread out of like Krang magazine or something. It looks superb. It's a magazine spread shot.
The outer focus. A lot of them were out of focus. Partly because
it was out of focus, but
because I just wasn't doing a good enough. I mean, again, another error which completely could have been avoided was I was shooting on medium format f4. Despite the fact that I was shooting, I could have cranked up the power on the flash. I was using like the flash at 1/8, so I could have well gone up on the flash. I could have increased the light from the LED panel as well to balance out. So there's no reason for me to be shooting at f4, but that was a choice that I made. So that meant that I missed focus on quite a few shots. And
you would have lost your LED light, so that's a matter of compromise, because there's no way an LED can compete with a flash. And so if you were shooting at f8, your ambient in would have been from the LED would have been too low, and you'd have lost the impact of that.
Oh, so good.
There's no way you can balance those two things out. Probably at a depth of field that would give you more stuff in focus.
Yeah.
Unless you've got the world's
because I was thinking that as well.
And the world's weediest flash.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't. I mean, what I am thinking going forward is to probably, because from talking to you, and I know you bought some LED panels as well, Rich, it seems to me like there's not really a good reason to go with flash over LED panels at this point, because LED panels can be very good, they can be powerful enough, and with analog in particular, where you can kind of see where that modeling is. But yeah, I mean, essentially my inexperience and a couple of schoolboy errors, I got pictures, they're all right, but the backdrop I was using, I couldn't have it very high because I was using tripods to hold the bar up, so I got the top of that in. It wasn't very wide because it was the width of a curtain. And because I was trying to sort of get myself in to get a couple of seated full-length shots, I was getting, I got bits of that. And so there were a lot of things. It was a learning thing. I will take lessons away from it. But there's not one shot. I think a couple of the digital ones worked out reasonably well. But there's not one shot, certainly on the roll of film, where I looked and go, yes, everything the light is good. The posing is good, the focusing is good. This is all there. It's like, as there's the one that John said he liked, where the pose is nice and the lighting has worked, but it's out of focus. So but
I think like if you were to you could do a small print of that, and I think you'd be surprised if you were doing darkroom prints as opposed to scanning. You might find that your exposure problems might not be so significant. When you get in a dark room. So and you could do little, because you've shot in medium format, you could do interesting crops of them as well that I think you could get some good results from that.
Yeah. It was a fun
seeing it. Did Sinead like it?
Yeah, she liked some of them. She disliked some of them. It's one of those things where ironically I'm looking at all the ones that are out of focus. They weren't massively out of focus, but they were out of focus. Saying, "Oh, jeez." Well, Sinead's looking at all the ones that are pin sharp and going, "No, thank you." Guess what? I'm 46. I don't want to see pin sharp images of my friends.
Exactly. This is why analog's great.
Yeah.
No, exactly. The fidelity was perhaps a little bit too good for some of those pictures, but and that was the main thing. I talked about this on the evening. The number one thing I wanted from that was a few pictures that she liked, because she gave up her time and made an effort, and we really enjoyed doing it. And because we enjoyed doing it, we'll do it again. But I definitely think that a good LED. I'm going to be picking you. Actually, Aid, maybe you can give us some suggestions now for me and everybody else. It's not me picking your brains off air.
Sure.
Good compact LED light panels, preferably on a decent budget. What would you suggest?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? So it's as a general rule, you'll get what you pay for, and the more you pay, the better the build quality, and usually the better the light quality. Although there are a couple of brands now that are doing very affordable things at that with also good light quality. So Godox is good. In the same way that they've kind of taken over quite a lot in the flash world, their continuous lights are pretty good. Their LED lights are pretty good. There's always Aperture. They're very well respected, and there are. It is sometimes a bit of potluck on quality control, but some of the what you'd consider the Chinese knockoff brands, right, are putting out good stuff. So the lights lighting me right now are Yongnuo lights, and they're good. They are. Would they survive a fall? No. They're not something as a professional would want, because they're just not rugged enough. But actually, the light quality is pretty good out of them. They're consistent. I've got two of them, and if you set them to the same color temperature, they're actually the same color, which is kind of important. I'd say just generally speaking, at your budget level, pick a brand that is a recognizable brand, because what you want is as you add them over time, you probably want to roughly stick with the same brand so that you can match them, right? So that the colors are going to be the same and stuff like that, because there's nothing harder to correct for, and unless you want to just go for black and white, there's nothing harder to correct for than different colors of white. And it's really glaring and obvious. So I'd say, I mean, I've had these young newer ones for a while now, and they work well. So I'd say they're all right. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, and I'm sure there are others. I just don't have experience of the others.
Yeah, because the young newer ones you're talking about, they're these wands, aren't they? They're what about?
The two that I've got that are lighting me right now. Yeah,
so
wands.
How do you use those with light modifiers?
You don't particularly. So the idea behind a light wand, if anybody can picture, those kinds of things, many of them around these days, a lot of them stemmed from the original design of the Westcott Ice Light. They simulate in one dimension a larger light source. So because they're long and very, very thin. So if you can, depending on which way you want the long light to be soft, you can either hold them horizontally or vertically. So if you want to take a photograph of somebody and you've only got one of them, best to have it vertically, because you can cover all of their face and down, halfway down their body with one light, which is good. But if you're going to do other things with them, you can have them at different angles. So those they are also very compact, and you don't need to worry about them being blown over in the wind if you're outdoors or anything like that. They'll sit on any light stand. They won't get blown over, and they can be quite flexible.
How much do they retail for?
Oh, blimey neck! Now you're asking. I think they're about $120 a piece or something like that. I think they're not. There are cheaper brands. And more expensive ones, but the young newer ones for me are a decent balance between quality and cost. Depends on what you want, how robust you want to be. If you're going to put them on the petrol tank of a motorbike and then fall off the motorbike, you probably want something a little bit more robust. But I don't know where I got that use case.
Everyone's a comic. Jeez. Yeah, I think they're about £120. I think they're not currently available on Amazon, or at least not the one I'm looking at. But there might be other models.
Third generation one, I think. Mine are the second generation ones, which are difficult to get hold of now, but the third generation one, I guess, should be better.
I don't know. YN363. I don't know. So many different, but £105 on Amazon Prime. So that's not bad. Maybe
they can look like bigger than they are.
Maybe once I finished paying to repair a bike that somehow ended up going down the road. But yeah, that's a really good tip, because it was good fun doing it, and let's just say that there's plenty to build on for the future in terms of, because at least when I look at the roller film and when I look at the digital pictures as well, because these mistakes were across both, it's just you can get away with more stuff with digital because you can kind of push and shove and but I can look and I can go, okay, well, I know what mistakes I made. Next time, let's try not to make those mistakes again, just for a laugh.
Tell you what, just another thing on the budget light thing. Sorry, just a thought. If you only shoot black and white, doesn't matter what color your lights are. So you can buy stuff that's cheap as chips. You go down to Home Base and buy work lights, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing with the color of the lights if you're shooting black and white.
Yeah, no, that's what I was actually using. So the light from behind was a work lamp, kind of an LED work lamp kind of thing. So I was using that. It's quite big and it's quite bulky and it's difficult to mount. Although it does actually have a tripod mount on it. I'm not sure why, but it does. But it doesn't fit. But yeah, so that was right. But yeah, I mean, these coloured lights, Claire, they could be. Do you have any coloured LED lights at the moment, Claire?
Me, yes, I do. I just bought some. Well, going back to just what Aid said, I think I've bought some. I wish. Where are they? I'd get them and show you. I've had some of those like cheap ones I've got online. But you put them on and they've got brackets and you have to put them onto a stand. So you can have about 3 in a row. But I've just bought some of those newer lights, those 660s.
How are they? I've seen those. Yeah, how are they?
Yeah. Well, I've not actually used them because I've literally only just got them. So I've not used them. I've tested them out, but they seem quite powerful. And I've also bought an 18-inch ring light, you know, a newer ring light. And basically, just exactly what you just said, Aid, about having them all matching. And so you can have the hard light, you can have the duo light, or you can go through all the color ranges and sync them all. And they've got modes on them as well. Especially if I'm making some of the special effects modes, I thought would be handy for when I'm making moving images, because you can get like the crack, like the light bulb effect, you know, like a bulb going on and off. But anyway, no, but they're quite powerful. I was just looking, actually. I don't know if you'd be able to see. Probably won't be able to see, but I did a shoot the other week, and I actually bought all the lights to it indoors in like a cinema, but in the end I ended up just using the ring light, and I got a couple of some good images from that. Although afterwards I was thinking maybe I should have got the other ones out, because I could have lit further back and had more red chairs. But
you can never have enough lights.
I know you can never have enough, because now I want one of the 960 newer lights.
So I'd be really interested to hear how you get on with them when you get a chance to use them.
960 behind you, the 60s light, you know, one here, one there, light in the room, and then 960 behind you, and I think you'd all be quite sorted, possibly.
How with LED lighting, how is the power output measured? Like when you're comparing lights to see how powerful they are, what do you look for to see which one's the most powerful?
So that's a tricky question to answer, actually, because all the manufacturers seem to report stuff in different ways. So if you talk, one of the ways I found as a coping strategy for that is to look for YouTube reviews where people test these things, and they test them with a proper, you know, light meter and colorimeter and stuff like that. They can test the color quality, and they can test the output. I think that if there was to be a standard, I think it would be something like the number of lux at 1 meter. I've seen, you know, quite a few reviewers seem to focus on that as, you know, and I figure there's two measures of output. One is lux and the other is lumens, or lumens is output and lux is per area unit that hits it at a distance or something like that. It's all really complex stuff that I haven't got my head around. But
I vaguely remember looking at LED lights a while ago, and I was just so confused on determining which ones were more powerful.
Yeah,
and like say in the end, I ended up just looking up on YouTube and just going, "Oh yeah, that seems like the equivalent of whatever in tungsten, so that'll do."
Yeah, that is another way of doing it. Yes, it's what is it a 30 watt or a 50 watt or 100 watt? Yeah, that sort of thing. Yes, from the days when you used to be allowed to buy light bulbs. It is hard, and so the trick is to look to a third party that's tested stuff.
Mm-hmm. How do you find the battery life with it? Because that's one of the things that always slightly concerns me with these LED panels, is how long they're going to last. It was one of my biggest worries actually going into this 1 hour challenge thing, because I know that my rechargeable batteries have all been around for a while. I was like, oh God, I think I'm going to get halfway through this and stuff's just going to fail. And in the end, it didn't. It was fine. But you're obviously using your light ones for prolonged periods, doing video stuff and things like that. How have you find that they've lasted?
They last quite well when you plug them into the mains.
Oh, okay, so that is an option. Plug them into the mains.
I mean, many of these kinds of lights, they do have in the sales blurb how long they'll last at full power or half power or quarter power. It's one of those things because of the inverse square law. They say, you know, that 100% is double 50%, but very often it only looks very marginally brighter to me. And often you can get all the brightness you need from it, I find, about 30% of power. I mean, the one that I've got two at the moment, one is bouncing off the ceiling, and that's possibly on about 80% power, just because of the distance it has to throw. The one that's my fill light, if I can remember, hand there might cast a shadow on my face a little bit. That's on about 1 or 2%. Right, and so that would last for many hours. So I would imagine for a photo shoot, if you're out shooting for an hour, you should have no problems at all, even if you've got them on full blast all the time, really. Most lights should be able to do at least that. It would only be if you were making a movie and you needed time between scenes to keep the lights on, stuff like that, that you'd have to worry about battery power.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. Before we wrap up, I'm gonna have to say for listeners, because listeners can't see this, but we all can. There's a hole where once there was a Rachel. Unfortunately, Rachel is clearly not clear of the bug that threw her down last week. She had to disappear off because, as she messaged me, I don't want anybody to see me throwing up on screen. So appreciate it. So get well soon, Rach, because it does sound like she's struggling to shake off this bug. I don't know how. It must be a very Welsh bug that you've managed to share with her across the water.
Yeah, because we went down exactly the same time, didn't we?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So
did you psychically transmit it to her?
I think I did. Yeah.
She called the hotline.
Not intentionally. Yeah, she called the hotline because we did literally were both in bed sick the same day. Yeah. It seemed to come from nowhere as well.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to just do a quick round the room on before we wrap up for this year, let's face it. 2020, less said the better, I think, ultimately. But I would love to know, looking forward, what you guys are hoping for and excited for. I know we went into 2020 with such dreams, such plans and visions of what we were going to do, and then straight out the window. So, Aid, what are you hoping for 2021? What are you hoping you can do? What's your dream photographically and socially photographically for 2021 maybe?
Well, other than my new travel photography business.
Other than your new travel photography business, yeah, absolutely. I do crack straight on with that.
So yeah, well, I mean, the photographic one is a little bit easier to get through. I mean, I'm pleased with the amount of photos I'm taking at the moment, and I haven't been able to say that for a couple of years. So I'd like to see some sticking power from me. I know I have to take some responsibility for that, but I'd like to keep going, keep pushing it. And here's the sound of my prints again. That is an open-ended thing. I just said, right, I'm just going to print. I'm going to try and do one print a day, and I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it. I mean, a lot of them, actually not a lot. Some of them are being printed 2 or 3 times, to get them just right. Some of them I'm just leaving them at the test print stage because maybe the shot isn't strong enough in the first place, or I just haven't got around to doing them again. I saw one of the things I've been playing with an idea, right? There's a guy on YouTube called Dan Milner. I don't know if anybody recognize the name. He's a YouTuber, but he also works for Blurb. And so, yes, sometimes he's pushing books, right? But he had this really idea for like a notebook, like a journal notebook, but where you print it as a bespoke one and you put some of your own graphic design in it and your own photographs in it and stuff like that, so you can surprise yourself with a photograph. And I thought, not only would that be good for me, that could be good as like gifts for people, couldn't it, and stuff like that. Give them a gift that is useful, and also you've snuck in some of your photographs, right? So they can't get away from them. So more printing. I'd like to do some bigger printing because 6x4s are great, but I'd like to do some bigger printing.
Did you used to print your work when you were shooting on film?
Not myself,
right.
But yes, I mean there are 2 or 3 framed, quite large prints around the house. Okay. I have drawers full of sort of 8x10s, and there's a photo wall in the house which is like family stuff, and a lot of the shots there, because this is of all extended family. It's a whole wall full of stuff, and a lot of that is so some of that I've played with, like printing on metal plates and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's all from labs and services. It's not something.
Okay, I just wondered if that was something that shifted in your new direction, is actually starting to print things. But if you've been printing things previously, then it's
It's more, though. It is more. I want to print more. Okay. I want to do, I don't know why, just for fun. And then the things will just end up lying around the house and I'll have storage issues. But I'm just going to try it and see if it's fun. So that'd be me. More photos and more printing.
Yeah, that sounds good. What about you, Claire? What are you hoping to get from 2021?
Well, one thing I am looking forward to is the 12/12 project is starting again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the shooting to a theme every month on instant film. So that will get me going again and get me thinking and knowing that I have to create a piece, an image that I'm happy with at the end of every month. And I'm really hoping that, well, we'll see where we get to. It'd be nice if I could get away into some lovely bright sun again to make some sun-soaked images.
I was thinking that because I was thinking my mental image of your photography is a lot of it is based in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Whether you're shooting just down the road from home, and making it look really, really glamorous, or whether you're actually off somewhere really, really glamorous.
A bit of both, but it's been but this year's been hard, hasn't it? Because, well, we did have okay weather, but then we were in a complete lockdown, and then, just the year we've had, and then I've not been able to go anywhere. So that's what I'm hoping, to get back into making some sort of the sun-drenched images and some little films as well. I've got a photo shoot planned for January. I just pray that I'm able to get there, because I've already kind of rented somewhere out as a location. So kind of planning that, but it could get cancelled, couldn't it? If depending where we are, but fingers crossed. Yeah. So
John, what about you?
I've got two things that I'm really hoping for. One is the stuff I love taking photos of when I'm out is behind the scenes at theatres and at gigs and stuff. And those industries have just collapsed, unfortunately. And for them, I would love those industries to come back on force and then also be able to get behind the scenes and capture that photographically. Personally, I'm looking forward to kind of exploring maybe a bit more kind of narrative to the work I do and meaning behind the images, as opposed to kind of piecing it all together afterwards a bit. So have more intent to what I'm doing, which probably involves a bit more planning. So yeah, it's that, and that's feasible without in lockdown as well. And it's kind of the direction I'm going in, but out of lockdown, it's definitely behind the scenes documentary. I'm craving it, and travel as well. Fundamentally, I've been watching travel TV programs at the moment, and I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, I just want to go away."
Yeah. How old's your daughter again?
Pardon?
How old's your daughter again, John?
Not old enough to go away with.
It's not gonna happen. Yeah,
I need to get. I want to get a 2-week pass and just go.
Don't say that. Go.
Have you sorted it?
I did that once.
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah. Yeah.
How old were your kids then, Aid?
How old are my kids then? They would have been 8 and 6.
There you go. You just got, what's that, John? 7 more years. They'll fly by.
That was coincidence.
If I can somehow turn it into a work opportunity, then I've got to go, haven't I?
Yeah, good luck with that. Let me know how that pans out. I have to say, I'm actually going to, I think my feelings for 2021 is going to echo where kind of similar in certain ways to where Aid was this time last year. I want to see some people this year. I want to get out and do more photo walks. I want to connect with people, but particularly also I want to do, I say more photo walks. We did one last year. Oh no, 2, because I did one with you in
January, which we did.
And then did one in Oxford. So I got 2 photo walks in.
I did 2, yes.
Yeah. So that's not bad going, considering that the rest of the year was spent in lockdown. I think we pretty much nailed that. I want to do more of that stuff just to catch up with more people. But also, I want to connect with more people one-to-one and leech all of the goodness and knowledge that they have out of them to improve myself. Like one of the things that I've really wanted to do this year was go up and spend time with John, and go like spend time in the dark and hang out and do fun stuff in there. And
you never told me about this. What?
Nice, John. But no, I'm really keen to do that. I just get out and do stuff with other people, because I think this year part of what's really stymied my desire to shoot is a lack of inspiration and motivation. And I think part of that is just it is that absence of human contact and being inspired by just being around other people and the things that get sparked off by that. Somebody will say something and you suddenly go, oh, there's an idea that might be completely tangentially related to anything they said, but there's just something there. Whereas I found that being in a bubble, sort of an isolated space, it's just kind of shriveled up and died, and it hasn't. So I hope I get to see all of you guys next year. I hope that and I hope it's in the real way, not in the virtual way. But even if it's in the virtual way, I think I'm going to try and find time to connect with people that way, because that can work too. I desperately, maybe I can get some lights aid. I can actually pick your brains and we can do like a virtual shoot, and you can help me go and I put that there and do this stuff and help teach me this stuff. That would be good. So that's what I want from 2021. I want to be able I've already got my first socially distanced one-on-one photo walk planned with a friend of the show for right at the beginning of the year. So I'm starting off on the right foot. So hopefully there'll be many more of that. And for our listeners, I hope that means that we do get to see far more of you next year, because it was a really fun thing that we got to do in 2019. We sort of caught up with people on a few occasions, didn't we, Ada?
Yeah, we did. It was good. It was good, and it's a shame we haven't managed to do it this year. It's just, from my 2 photo walks and your 2 photo walks, it's not a lot of socializing.
It's not a lot. Room for improvement. Very much room for improvement. So hopefully lots to look forward to. I don't think that necessarily 2021 is going to launch stratospherically into awesomeness, but I think we're all hoping that it's going to climb slowly out of the hole that it's in, right? That has to happen.
It will slowly probably, but
But yeah, so for everybody out there listening, one, thank you so much for being with us for another year. We really appreciate it. Boy, what a year it's been. What a weird year. And I know for a lot of people, it's not been a year where podcasts have really been top of anyone's priority. I mean, I know you were saying before we started recording, Aid, that you found out with the future of photography that there's not as many people listening because people just aren't commuting anymore. You're not listening
anymore,
so if you are still listening, thank you. And
indeed,
thank you for, if you're not listening, do one. I mean, just it doesn't matter. But I'm excited about 2021. I think there's good things to come.
At the very least, photography is something that's at a push you can do on your own.
Thank goodness. To everybody out there who is facing Christmas in a way that they would not want to be facing Christmas this year, with our thoughts are with you all. I think we're all, for the most part, quite lucky, us lot here, that we're kind of getting to do at least a semblance of what we want to do with Christmas. We're not isolated and on our own, but that's not everyone's case, certainly. So if that is you, and if you're listening to this on Christmas Day, then I hope we've provided some company at least. We will be with you. We've been with you this year. We're not going anywhere.
For those people, we probably should try and end the show on an up note, though, shouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, go on, Aid. Give us a good up note. What's a good up note?
I don't know. If you see my hat, the elf ears on my hat are a pretty good up note. I don't know how well they come across on the audio.
I'll put my flashing lights on my head as well.
John's putting his flashing lights back on. So
give my bell a shake.
Yes, we haven't talked about your hat, actually, Graeme. You look like a cross between an elf and a Celtic supporter.
Listen, elves can be Celtic supporters too.
I was actually wondering whether it was a Christmas hat or a football hat. Oh, right, okay.
It has got ears. Yeah.
Celtic supporters do not necessarily have elf ears. No judgment if they do, obviously, like I said.
Or a bell.
Or a bell. I forgot about the bell, and then halfway through, what's that jingling? Oh, there's a bell in my hat. That's great. What a wonderful discovery that was for me. Exactly. Well, listeners, we will get out of here and leave you, hopefully, to a lovely Christmas dinner or whatever the heck Christmas is this year. You know, I think in general, it's a wash, but that's all right. There's more of them to come. It's going to be great. 2021 is going to be a much better year. I absolutely believe it. It's going to be good. It might not be straight away, but it's going to be good. And I think we're going to end up seeing, hopefully, a lot more of each other and a lot more of you out there. I know Rach would absolutely echo that far more eloquently than me if she was not busy being sick somewhere, never around when you need her. Typical Rachel. We will play you out with something festive. Who knows what, but it'll be something festive. So look forward to that. And we will be back with you in 2021, in the new year. Who knows with what? It will be an adventure, and we never like to plan these things too far in advance, or indeed at all, because that just kills the magic, and we really need that magic now. Wouldn't you agree, Aid?
More than ever. Yes, more than ever. Absolutely.
I think Aid needs a drink looking at his face.
I've got a non-alcoholic drink here beside me. One of the things I have done a lot of during lockdowns through the year is drink. So
time for a break then.
Yeah.
Aid, I know we've mentioned a few times that obviously you're doing the Future of Photography. Is that weekly or fortnightly?
No, it's every week. Every week, yeah. So just thefutureofphotography.com. There is 160 odd episodes in the back catalogue at this point.
Just started, yeah, that's good.
So yeah, let's go. Yeah, just started, yeah. We have a Discord server, which is great. Get some chat going on. It's almost a bit like the old days on Pixelated Photographer, Graeme, where we first met. To have a Discord server is a bit of fun, a bit more interaction and what have you. And it's all good.
So you'll give me all the links for those things. I can stick them in the show notes. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Stuff. And you're not, I think it's safe to say, the most active on social media, but every now and again there is a Twitch. Media? Yes, exactly. But you are on Twitter. You are. Let's see if we can get the number right. It's Aid968.
It is 968, yes. And for those car aficionados amongst you, it relates to a car I used to drive.
There you go. And are you still doing stuff on Instagram at all? Are the pictures you're doing now with your phone stuff, are they finding their way to Instagram?
No. I have tried Instagram, and but the signal to noise ratio is terrible, and because it's full of adverts, and also I don't know if it's something about Facebook, but the UI of anything to do with Facebook is so cluttered you can't actually see any of the content, and it drives me nuts. So I know there's a whole thriving community out there. I'd kind of like to be a part of it, but the app itself puts me off.
Yeah, it's horrific. They've changed it in the last few weeks as well. It's even worse now. It's terrible.
Yeah,
I think everyone's jumping ship of that as far as I can see.
Right, get yourself set up. As we should set up a Sunny 16 Discord.
There is one.
Is there? Oh, okay. All right. You didn't. Nobody invited me to join it.
I mean, I never get on there, obviously, because it's. But yeah, there are people on there. So there is the Sunny 16 podcast. I'll try and remember to put the link into that as well.
Yes, and invite. Yes, I would like to be part of the Sunny 16 Discord.
Absolutely, I will do that, dude. I will do that. And yes, what you were just saying, John. I know we were just leaving, but I want my quick rant about Instagram, because they have changed the app just recently. I love the fact that they've put the shop icon right where you're used to clicking to see your activity. That was very shrewd. So you accidentally click and go, oh, that's a shop now. Right. Thank you, but no. Also, you can tell that Facebook are really getting their claws in, because it's going, oh, here's someone you might want to follow on Instagram. And the people they're recommending are people that neither Instagram nor Facebook should have any business knowing that I've ever had any contact with. I got a recommendation for somebody who I did 2 weeks of work for 12 years ago.
Wow.
It's slightly scary because it makes you realize, they can probably map out every person I've ever had a conversation with on the phone or anything.
And they still can't get the ads right.
And they still can't get the ads right. So, yes, never mind. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yeah, we were leaving. See, this is what happens. Like once you've gone, the end of the show just fall apart on a regular basis. I still
as I'm sure longer-term listeners will remember, I'm excellent at closing out podcasts.
Oh, you're still better than I ever will be. They're still a bumbling mess every week. I do them. But
Stop talking now.
Yeah, good point.
Stop it. Stop. Stop yet.
You can hear some whispering voice in his little elf ears. He's like, "What's this?"
We have to say festive goodbye, Egg. We have to say festive goodbye. Okay. Happy Christmas, everyone, and have a lovely New Year. Goodbye.
Happy Christmas. Bye.
Bye.